Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick info before we begin. This video has 2 stories and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user OKEngine6401. Would I be the a-hole for moving away from my disabled boyfriend? English is not my first language, so I'm sorry if any of this does not make sense. I, 25 female, have been with my boyfriend, 25 male, since we were 19. When we were 23, he was injured in a skiing accident. His injuries were so severe that he was paralyzed from the neck down and has been semi-comatose ever since. Other than that, he can do very little. He is no longer there. His body is essentially functioning on autopilot. There are more medical issues, but I do not want to divulge his private information any more than I have to. We were planning to get married and I still love him very much. Since his accident, he has lived at the hospital and then with his parents. We lived together, but our 5th floor apartment was not suitable for his needs and I worked too much to care for him. His parents live 90 minutes out from our city. I visit him 4 or 5 times a week and sometimes more if I can. It's been a point of contention between his mother and myself that I do not visit every day. I literally cannot do this with the hours I work and I'm scared I will get in a road traffic accident driving in the dark and icy conditions. We live in a very snowy, icy state. His family basically lives on a mountain and runs a skiing resort, so the roads are terrifying. I work in a small and intensely competitive field. The salary I am on right now is fine for the city I live in, a major US city, but I could be earning almost double if I relocate. I've been offered an amazing job across the country. I really want to take it. When I told his mother about how I was considering this job, she lost it. She told me I was an awful person to consider moving away from him. She said I was betraying him by abandoning him and moving on. I told her that I couldn't just stop living because of what happened. She started screaming at me. I am empathetic because I understand that she feels as though the world is moving on without him. I feel that way too. I am very conflicted. I am unsure if it is wrong to do this. My boyfriend and I had promised we would marry each other. I do feel like I'm abandoning him. Would I be the a-hole for taking the job? OP, what happened to your boyfriend is terribly sad and I'm sorry you all have to go through this. I understand your boyfriend's mother's anger, but I don't think she's really angry with you. I think she's angry at you, if that makes sense. Like, you will get to live your life, her son probably won't. All this to say, not the a-hole OP. You did make a promise to marry each other, but the thing about promises is that one should be able to follow through, and it doesn't seem like your boyfriend can. I don't know what the chances are for your boyfriend to come back, but from what you said, it doesn't sound like it's a thing that could happen. You're absolutely right when you say that you can't stop living because of what happened. Again, it is incredibly sad, but you gotta move on, OP. Also, and this is me going out on a limb, I'm pretty sure if the situation was reversed and you were in the hospital in a coma that you couldn't recover from, his mother would probably be telling him that he needs to move on and live his life and that you would be okay with that. So yeah, OP, not the a-hole, take the job. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know your judgment in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see their judgments. Bonging Fool says, not the a-hole. This is an awful situation. I understand his mother's reaction is stemming from grief, and she most likely can't see how she is hurting you. But if your boyfriend is now basically brain dead, which is what I understood from your description, then there isn't much left to your relationship. I'm so sorry you're going through this. You do have the right to move on with your life and take the job. It is very understandable that you would feel guilt over this, but you need to do what is right for you. I doubt there is any other way out of such a traumatic situation. I hope you are able to move on and heal from this. Emotional Koala says, not the a-hole. Oh, duckling, what an awful situation to be in. You're so young, and no matter what you choose, people are going to have an opinion. I'm probably going to be crucified for this, but you need to consider yourself and your needs in this situation. Is it unfair what happened to your boyfriend? Of course. Tragic, awful, and unfair. But you're not married, you don't have kids, and you weren't officially engaged. His mother sounds like she's not on your side about anything, understanding given what her son is going through. But there's nothing to say that your relationship might not have lasted anyway. A lot of people change in their early 20s, and who knows if you two would have gone the distance. The fact is, your lives are now very different, and you're right, you can't stop living because of his accident. You have hard choices ahead of you, but remember to factor yourself in too. Irish Beast says, not the a-hole. Let's be honest. Do you see yourself getting a new partner, or are you staying with him forever? Because if you hope to one day be living with or married to somebody who can have children with you, then you are going to leave him sooner or later. If you are going to leave him when the time is right, then the right time is now. There will never be a good time. Yes, it feels like you're abandoning him. Maybe you are. Well, you have to. You have two choices. 1. Sacrifice the rest of your life to the shell of a man who isn't even aware of what you're doing. 2. Restart your life. You have 50 plus years ahead of yourself. It is your life. You have to live it without guilt. Additional information from OP's comments. I don't blame my boyfriend's mom at all for her comments. She is verbalizing a lot of what I am feeling, but my family, who live in another country, are essentially telling me what these comments are all saying. So I feel as though I am being torn in two and couldn't tell if I was wrong for this. Although I am in therapy. If this had happened before I started seeing my therapist, I wouldn't have even considered the job. However, it's obviously easy for me to say that I would want him to move on, but it is much harder for me to do that. My boyfriend's accident happened a couple of hours away. There are lots of places to ski here, and he liked to switch it up. The accident was caused by him making several mistakes that he absolutely should not have made as an experienced skier. One of these mistakes alone maybe would have been fine, but together were awful. He won't improve, but will not get worse. He has minimal brain function and activity. From what I understand from doctors, he will just continue living this way until he won't. He isn't classed as brain dead, but his brain injury was so severe that it will never get better. There is enough brain activity to breathe on his own, but nothing else. Well, the community agrees. OP is not the a-hole. She should take the job and continue living her life. Yes, it is absolutely sad and horrible what's going on, but that can't pause her life. And also OP gave us a little bit more context regarding what happened to her boyfriend. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends, but before that, I gotta show you guys another playlist like this one that only has stories with updates on them so you can enjoy it after this video. Now let's move on with the update. I just would like to update anyone who left a kind comment and might stumble upon the update. That post and the comments and chats I received have pushed me to accept the job. I move cities on January 9th. I start my job on January 16th. This is all happening very quickly, but I have realized that I do need to put myself first, and I am not an a-hole for living my life, despite it being incredibly painful. My boyfriend's mother does not agree. She is no longer speaking to me. I am not allowed to see my boyfriend, who I guess is no longer my boyfriend and hasn't been for 2 years. I knew this would happen, so I said goodbye to him before I told her. I do not want to repeat what she said to me, however, it was awful. She says I ruined Christmas because I made the decision on the 23rd, but she knew this was possible and it was a time-sensitive offer. As one commenter said, it was never going to be a good time to do this. On the plus side, her hating me has made it so that I have to leave for this job. I have no ties here anymore. I may be the a-hole in her eyes, but this is what I need. I am having fleeting moments of regret, but my family and therapist have said that in the 5 days since making this decision, I seem lighter. I am excited about this new chapter. Thank you again for the kind comments. Extended from OP's comments. He is paralyzed from the neck down and his brain is very damaged. His doctors have repeatedly described him as gone. His brain is basically just keeping the body functional enough. No chance of meaningful recovery. His family pays for in-home nurses at their house. He is well looked after and they are lucky enough to be able to pay for this indefinitely. She has never tried to give me caregiving responsibilities, but so many people have suggested she might have. The doctors did their best to initially save him because they hoped his brain wouldn't be badly injured. They stabilized him so that he could survive without life support, then realized his brain is too badly injured for a meaningful recovery. He isn't on life support except for feeding and hydration. His parents do not want him to starve. His father is more reasonable and would consider letting him go, but his mother won't. Well, OP, all things considered, this is a positive update. And your family and therapist noticed that too. You seem lighter, you made the right decision, and you'll get to continue living your life. Again, what happened to your boyfriend is unfortunate and it sucks, of course, but that shouldn't pause you. So at this point in time, you should already be 2 days into your new job. I hope you're having a good time, I hope you're enjoying it, and I wish you all the best in the future, OP. Take care and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is also from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Burdened Flan. Am I the a-hole for kicking my friend out of my vacation house in a foreign country? English is not my first language, so please excuse my poor grammar. My family owns property in a tropical destination that is very popular this time of year. My friends and I, all girls in our early 20s, have been talking about going to my parents' house for years, and this January was finally the season everything was aligning in our favor. An acquaintance of mine, Jessica, who is part of our larger group of friends, heard about the upcoming trip and asked to join us. I was reluctant at first, but she kept publicly insisting on it and saying that visiting this place was one of her childhood dreams, and it put me in an awkward position to say no. We then add her to our travel group chat and go over everything that was already decided on our itinerary and how much money we were planning on spending on this trip. She seemed excited about it and didn't want to change anything. Great! Unfortunately, things started to go south the moment she arrived here. Jessica bought a different flight from everyone else and would arrive at 3 a.m. I told her that she could either get a taxi to my house or wait at the airport until 10 a.m. when I would drive to pick up everyone else. She was not happy with that and was very passive-aggressive for the rest of the day. She then started to complain about our itinerary, how everywhere we picked was too expensive and she felt excluded and judged by the people there. We tried to compromise and did a few touristy things with her, but when we started getting ready to go to a beach club yesterday, she threw a fit. I reminded her that she knew about all of this before buying tickets and that she wasn't forced to join us. She could stay home and eat the food my parents kindly stocked for us or walk around the city center. When we came back home, I was flooded with messages from our mutual friends asking why I'm being so mean to poor Jessica. Apparently, she took it to social media and created a narrative that she's a victim and we're bullies. I was sick of it. We had a fight where she called me terrible things. I wasn't a perfect angel either, to be honest, and it ended with her being kicked out. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? OP, this is a difficult one to make a judgment on, but I'm gonna go with nope, you are most definitely not the a-hole here. And yes, I was being sarcastic in the beginning by saying it was difficult, because it's not. Jessica is clearly an entitled a-hole here. She got on the metaphorical bus through the back door and wants to run up front to change the radio station. I have no idea what she's drinking, smoking, or snorting, but she should quit all of that, because she's crazy. Because not only did she force her way into the trip, but then she wanted to change everything, threw a fit when you guys didn't want to do what she wanted, and then she went to social media to blast you? No, you don't do that. So yeah, OP, in my opinion, no, you're not the a-hole. She well deserved getting kicked out of that house, and in my opinion, Jessica shouldn't even be an acquaintance anymore. Let her go cry victim somewhere else. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see their judgment. 1962 Michael says, not the a-hole. I'm going to assume that the argument escalated into her calling you some nasty names, which is frankly unacceptable for a guest to do to her host. She was treating your parents' house as if it were a VRBO, vacation rentals by owner, that happened to be free and waiting all of your guests to be her wingman on her dream vacation. It's not clear if she posted for sympathy or to have your mutual friends pressure you to do things her way. If you kicked her out essentially for airing her feelings on Facebook, then you are a bit of the a-hole. If she was using it to bully you into doing her agenda, then she's even more an a-hole. Dazzling Revenue 908 says, not the a-hole. From your post, it sounds like you tried to accommodate her. She really has poor form inviting herself on a trip she couldn't afford. She should be grateful she had a nice place to stay and that there was food for everyone. She looks like a fool making this a public issue, airing the dirty laundry. I would remain classy, and if it really becomes an issue, recommend a good book on etiquette. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. Evil Finch says, not the a-hole. She invited herself to this trip, gave an F about your plans, and then played the victim when you don't want to change the plans you had already so long, and she knew, to cater her wishes? She was never a friend. It was the right thing to throw her out. She could have had the chance of a nice vacation, but some people ruin it for themselves. Additional information from OP's comments. My other friends totally agreed with me. I think I was the one who had to deal with her because it's my house and I took the leadership role on this trip since I'm very used to this place. From what I know, she slept in a hotel close to the airport and left the country earlier today. She left my house in a cab that I paid for. Well, community seemed to agree OP is not the a-hole and Jessica made a fool of herself. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Even though I was mainly judged not the a-hole, I felt bad about the way I handled it. Like many of you pointed out, it's my fault for allowing her to come in the first place. This country, and especially this specific location, is considered safe, but it's not idiot-proof. Something bad could have happened and I would have blamed myself for it. I decided to be the bigger person and contacted Jessica earlier today after dropping my friends off at the airport. Our talk went really well. She explained that in the beginning, she was looking forward to our plans. She wanted to experience the glitz and glamour of the destination. In her head, she would go to the beach clubs with us and guys would offer to buy her drinks and ask her out to dinner so she wouldn't have to pay for any of it. Unfortunately, reality didn't play out like that and she started to grow resentful whenever one of us would get male attention. The final straw was when I wouldn't let her borrow a wetsuit from me when we went scuba diving. She wouldn't fit on any of our extras and I didn't want them to stretch or break. She said that it triggered her imposter syndrome and body dysmorphia, so she didn't want to go to hotspots with us as it was affecting her mental health. I told her that while I understand where she's coming from, I hope she realizes that my friends and I are not in the wrong for sticking to our original itinerary and not catering to her insecurities. We didn't bully her once, and slandering us on social media for her own issues was unacceptable and unhinged. She genuinely apologized for her behavior and she knew she was in the wrong. I also apologized for kicking her out in the heat of our fight and offered to pay for her hotel and any fees she had to pay in order to anticipate her flight. She thanked me and said that she would request the payment on a money app. Everything was going well until I saw the request for 5,000 euros. What? I texted her asking if this is the right amount. She said yes. I asked for receipts, but she didn't have any. I asked for the bank statements or any sort of proof. She got angry and went back to being her rude, irrational self. I blocked her everywhere and I won't talk to her ever again. Also, I won't do as she did and drag her on socials. I like to keep a low profile. Nothing good will come out of me airing dirty laundry on Instagram. Most of the people I interact with on a daily basis don't even know who she is. Jessica and the people defending her are university friends I've only seen a handful of times since graduation. We were bound to eventually drift apart since our social circles are different. This whole mess is simply accelerating it. And in all honesty, the people whose opinion I care about all agree with me, so I'm not too concerned about the rest. Oh wow, honestly, I had to read that part about the beach clubs and how Jessica thought that she would just go there and people would buy things for her and invite her to dinner so she wouldn't have to pay for anything, like 4 times because I couldn't believe that was actually her mindset. I don't know if that's entitled or delusional or maybe both at the same time, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna end this by saying that I do hope that Jessica got home okay and that she works on whatever issues she's got. And that UOP got to enjoy the rest of your vacation. Thank you so much for sharing with us and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.